Okay, good afternoon. So you have prepared on the targets that was given. Yes, jana prepare agidira. Okay, how many of you are not prepared? It's okay, it's not prepared also. So now the idea is that there will be around 30 to 35 questions on the topics what we had given as a target last time. Okay. Here again, don't worry about how much questions you get correct, how much questions you go wrong. That is not it's not something like how much you score well. It's more about to prepare from an exam point of view. Like in prelims, how questions will come and what logic you can apply to deduct the answer. So you can all keep a white sheet with you. So every question, I'll give you 60 seconds. Okay. Just write one of the option as the answer. After that, we'll discuss that question and move on to the second question. Okay. And in total, these questions are all from previous year UPSC paper, NDA, CDS, CRPF. Okay, on the topics what we had given as a target. So same way after this session, again we'll give you 2-3 days time to read again 7-8 topics. This is mainly for prelims. There's nothing included for means. And all you have to think that when you give an answer, what can be it. And as of much possible, don't try to discuss with each other, because once you discuss, it will affect your thinking process. Just try to write what is the answer, then we'll discuss after each question. So exactly you'll get 60 seconds for each question, because in exam also I think you'll get around 90 seconds or something like that. But if you take away the time that is required for you to enter your roll number and sign, so end of that it will come down to 60 seconds. We have to answer one question. Okay. Second thing is that I would always told prelims is cleared by those people who are not getting all their current affairs questions correct. Okay, that is one of the myth or misconception which is there. Putting too much effort on reading current affairs. You have to read current affairs, that is needed, but there is no fixed area where you can say you can study current affairs, because there will be many materials which are available that you will be tempted to read. So you read any one material that is sufficient, or if you followed Insights website for 1 year, whatever current affairs is given or whatever the daily MCQs, if you have revised that, that will be also sufficient. Nothing else will be required. But it is more number of revisions what you will have to do. Got it? So these are the questions on topics what we had given: historical background, making of the constitution, fundamental rights, preamble, citizenship, union and its territories. Okay. So online students also can just write their answers, means wherever they are in, they can just write their answer. Then we'll discuss the answer after each question once you have solved. So this is the first question. Okay, so you get 60 seconds time to read the question and write what will be the answer, means the option what you are going to choose. I'll let you know once 60 seconds has ended. Those who are sitting in the back, you can come front, then the question will be easily visible. Done? Time is also up. Okay. So what will be the answer for this question? How many of you say A? How many of you marked A or written A? Okay. How many of you marked a different answer like D, A1, 2 and 3? Okay. How many of you didn't mark only? Will that you didn't know? See, now with whatever limited knowledge you have, now when you look at the question, they are asking which of the following were Queen's proclamation. Okay, that is the Government of India Act 1858. So first option they have told to disclaim any intention to annex Indian states. So if you have read modern history and you've read polity, collectively you know the first statement is correct. Why? Because 1857 revolt will happen, and now the one of the root cause of that revolt will be this doctrine of lapse in that regard. And if you look into the Queen's Proclamation, she'll declare from now on there is no implementation of doctrine of lapse. So they will say that we will no longer show intention to annex the Indian state because they don't want to alienate whom? The Indian rulers. So first statement is correct. Second statement, to place the Indian administration and British crown, this is 100% though a basic point that you will have to know. So you have to know second one is correct. Okay. Now the third statement you have to see whether it is right or wrong. Now here one problem will be what many students will think, it's about okay, I have read multiple times, how do I make this as a guess I have to make. So if you have logically broadly understood, the East Indian Company's trade had ended much before only. So for example, if you take the 1833 Charters Act, if you have read that act, it ended the monopoly of the East Indian Company's trade company. They also ended their role as a trading body, and it became purely what? An administrative body. But what did the Queen's Proclamation do? It ended the East Indian Company's role in India even as an administrative body. So it ended the company's rule itself. So third statement cannot be correct. It is not under the Queen's Proclamation, it was done much before. So answer will be 1 and 2. So again, one of the lesson what we learn here is that to solve prelims, it's not always about how many times you have revised. Okay, maybe 10 times also you have revised, you have read the same content. But in exam what will happen, many times it will require you to apply whatever knowledge you have read, and many times you need a holistic knowledge here. So if you had remembered even the Charters Act 1833, where it completely ended the company's role as a trading body and it converted into what? An administrative body, you will know that third statement will be incorrect. So answer is what? A, that is 1 and 2. So one thing what you will also have to do is that once you are also solving PYQs or previous year question, it's not only important for you to look at what is the answer. That's why I'm telling, if you got wrong, fine, no problem. So don't think negatively, saying that others have got it correct, I have got it wrong. Your main intention is to what? To learn the examination skills and to learn the art of analyzing, okay, how I could have thought about it. Okay. So answer is what? 1 and 2 only. We will go on to the next question. So again you will get 60 seconds time to think about this question. The Government of India Act 1919. So I'll let you know at the end of 60 seconds. I'll stop the clock. Last 10 seconds you have. Time is up. Okay, 60 seconds is done. So now what will be the answer? How many of you go with B? Okay. Anybody with A? Or anybody who didn't know the answer? So again here you can say, now all these questions, polity questions, if you see in exam, they are all straightforward questions. You take any year polity paper, there will be 1 or 2 questions, it will be current affairs based, but most of the things will be basic books what you would have read from Lakshmikant or your NCRT. Now here, first option they have given is separation of power between judiciary and legislature. So again, if you have read this historical background topic, that you will know that they did way back when they did the amending act of 1781 only, they wanted to separate the judicial functions and the legislation functions, clarity they had to be. Second one, the powers of secretary of the state and the viceroy. So obviously you can say viceroy was long created back in 1858 itself. But if you look at the second option, the jurisdiction of central and provincial governments were separated. Why? Because here you can say, you would have read, they introduced diarchy in provinces. So end of the day, diarchy is different. But what do you mean by they've introduced diarchy in provinces? Obviously, there was difference between what? The central and provincial governments with respect to what? Their jurisdiction, where they can make laws, where they cannot make laws. So given options, what is the logical option you can go for? It is B. Okay. But many times mistakes can happen when we overthink. Okay. When we overthink, sometimes what happen? You will tend to do mistakes in these straightforward questions. So if you don't overthink and if you just stick to your basic knowledge what you have read in that regard, the only difference will be like this. Maybe in Lakshmikant, they have not given exactly the same sentences how it is given in this question. Okay, that you don't expect also. There is no rule for them to exactly pick sentence formation from Lakshmikant and give. They can form the same thing in a different sentence in that regard. Holistically, you have to bring your understanding on the paper. So answer is what? If you don't think too much, the answer is B. Got it? Again, a straightforward, simple question. So these questions, what we call as, level 1 questions. Not only in polity, economy, geography, environment, if you take your core subjects, you will have around 30 to 35 questions will be level 1 questions. It will be not, in a line they would have not given, it will be in different parts of your paper. Your thing you have to do in exam is that ensure that you don't make mistakes in level 1 question. So if you have got almost 35 to 35, means cent% in that, you got your 70 marks there itself. So don't be blown away by these, bit advanced questions. Yeah, there will be some questions which you will be able to deduct. But don't worry about those 20 questions, which seems they have lifted from somewhere else. And even if those 20 questions come in the starting of your paper, many people, what will happen? They get mentally affected. Means when they read the first 10 question, when they don't know anything, they start panicking. When they start panicking, what they will do? Then they'll go into panic mode. By the time they come to these easy questions, they'll make of silly mistakes. Okay, so that's what I told. Prelims is not cleared by those people who are getting these, difficult questions correct. Prelims is always cleared by those people who don't make mistakes in their basic questions. So answer is B. Okay. Again, this is a question on what? Government of India Act 1919. It is also called as what? 1919? Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. Your last 20 seconds. Last 10 seconds. Time up. Okay. So what will be the answer? How many of you marked C? Okay. So here also an easy question, straightforward question. As long as you don't make a blunder, you're going to get it correct. So let us think for those people who said, sir, we don't remember. It's extremely possible, right? You cannot remember the number of this. What is the logic that we can apply? So if you know what is diarchy, where they separated the provincial subjects into two lists, reserved and transferred. What was the idea behind doing so? To ensure that one hand they might show that they are transferring certain powers to Indians in that regard, but in other hand they want to keep the control over the administration. So what they had done, they had kept all the important subjects with them and they transferred all the non-important subjects. Okay. So like if you take revenue, police, land order. So in that given options, if you see this local self-government, okay, at that point of time local self-government was not something important or keenly with the English would have been keen on holding on to, okay, and to run the local self-government mainly you need revenue. Revenue was under their control itself. or even if you have read your Panchayat chapter in Lakshmikant or even in classrooms, what we have done, we have clearly told local governance is a state subject. Why it is a state subject? Our system is based logically on the British rule in India. So during 1919 also they had made it, what is that, provincial subject. In that provincial subject it was a transferred subject. So if you remove this 3, you got the answer. Okay, so what will be the answer? D, that is 1, sorry, if you remove 2, you got the answer, that is what? C, 1, 3 and 4. Straightforward question, you should get it correct in the exam. Can you mind? So whenever you read the question paper, try to always don't just move away saying that this question I might not know, or try to use some kind of logic which you can apply there, then you will be able to get the answer. This is what you need to practice, and why we are giving you time limit to practice is that now sometimes what can happen, I can give you 15 minutes time, you can think, you can recall, etc. But this is not going to be in the actual examination. You will have to make decisions in matter of time. And that's why we say that even if you are well prepared, things can go wrong. Why? Because you are not able to manage time. Andre ivaga idr mele ನೀವು 10 ನಿಮಿಷ ಟೈಮ್ ಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ, by the time you come to the last 10 or 15 questions of the exam, you don't have time, then you will have to make decisions on the spot. So what you will do, you will start making wrong decisions, or in hurry you might miss out some words. So that's why whenever we are making you practicing, you giving you 60 seconds time, within that 60 seconds you have to make an answer. Got it? So here don't worry about going wrong or right, make a decision, it's fine, even if it is wrong you are learning from it. Got it? So answer is what? Answer is C, 1, 3 and 4. Let's move on to the next question. Again 60 seconds you get. Your time starts now. And these are all previous year UPSC only, CDS, NDA, CRPF. You have last 15 seconds. Last 5 seconds. Yes, your time is up. So what is the answer? Okay, so there is these question you don't need 50 seconds also, you have to be able to answer this question in 10 seconds. Why? Because whatever time you gain here, okay, so we are distributing the time into 60 seconds. Let us think in actual exam, you got this answer within 10 seconds, you saved how much time? You saved almost 50 seconds on another question where you can invest on thinking. Got it? And here, only way when people can go wrong, the only way people can do mistake is overthinking. Okay. Somebody might tell, no sir, if you look at Indian constitution, yes there is social justice also. No sir, how can that only be the answer? That is why they have highlighted and they have given what is the chief purpose. Main purpose of a constitution is to what? Limit the powers of the government. So answer is plain and simple, it is C. So many times they would have given clues in the question itself, try to catch on to that. They only told, that is why I told, what is the chief purpose? All the 4 options they have given is purpose of the constitution only. But among that they are asking what is the chief purpose. So you can say, even if you don't have constitution, a ruler can be a person who wants to bring social justice. But what is the chief purpose of a constitution? To limit the powers of the government. That is what we say, constitutional state. What do you mean by constitutional state? A state that is limited by the power, means powers are limited by the provisions of the constitution. Constitution acts as a Lakshman Rekha where you can't cross the line. So answer is what? C. Okay. Again your 60 seconds starts now. Last 15 seconds. Yes, time is up. So what will be the answer for this question? A, that is principle of natural justice. One, you will have to get it correct because it's a recent UPSC question. So even if this question like something like this repeats, you have to be immediately able to say. And one good thing is that if you are able to identify immediately, means you have solved previous year questions. So let us think if you are not solved previous year question, then you see the question, you get confused. That's an error what you have made. Andre, you have just read, you have not solved any previous year question. Now again, we know it is principle of natural justice, but again going into the conceptual clarity here. What is, okay, is the word due process of law mentioned in the Indian Constitution? It is not mentioned. When was the first time the Supreme Court came out with this doctrine called as due process of law? In Maneka Gandhi case. Okay, this has been borrowed from which system? The US judicial system. In our constitution, what is the word that is mentioned for, means the word judicial review is not mentioned nowhere, it is only implicit. So if you take which article of the Indian constitution, it mentions about the word procedure established by the law. Yeah, article it is article 21. So it is the role of the what you can say judiciary to protect the rights. According to what procedure means, you cannot take away your life except procedure established by law. Now what is the, okay, the idea of procedure established by law, it is taken from which constitution? It is Japan, okay, Japanese constitution, due process of law, American constitution. And what is the difference between procedure established by law and due process of law? In both system, one is so common that you will have to follow what is the procedure of the law. But in due process of law, in addition to following the procedure mentioned on the law, you have to look at the principle of natural justice. So here the powers of the judiciary is wider compare when it follows procedure established by law. So what do you mean by the principle of natural justice? Because this itself can be asked as one more question. Okay, they might ask, identify which are the following are the principles of natural justice. 1, you cannot be the judge in your own case. Second one, judgment has to be only given after you hear the argument of both sides. Third one, the punishment should be in proportion to the crime that has been committed. This we call as principle of natural justice, and the principle of natural justice is also not defined in the Indian Constitution. Got it? So one of the other agenda of solving previous year questions is not just look at the answer and move on. You are getting the point? Because most probably next year only they won't ask the same question, but they might ask building on the same concept. Now they have mentioned about natural justice here. They might go into that, what is the concept of natural justice. So when you are solving previous year question, when you come across these kind of question, you have to make additional notes also. Okay, what do we mean by natural justice? Okay, solve some other question they have asked on natural justice. So that is how you cover your concept. You don't cover your concept by reading 3 different books or 4 different books. Now moving on to the next question. Which of the following constitutional amendments was widely believed to be enacted to overcome the judicial interpretations of fundamental right? Many online students are also marking their answer. Anybody of need time? Okay, what will be the answer? First amendment, but if you see last year UPSC has dropped this question from their answers, means they have told it is going to be grace marks that is going to be given. So why? Because there was conflict between first amendment and 44th amendment also, and that is why UPSC decided to drop the question. But yeah, largely interpreted, if some ask which is the best option I can go for, they will take the first amendment because it was a conflict between what the right to property and the parliament trying to bring the amendment to overcome what is this fundamental right. So that is why many people told it is going to be first amendment. But UPSC has dropped the question saying that because some, according to some, it can be also 44th amendment. Okay. So, but UPSC has dropped it, but yeah, given the best choice, what I will also go for, it is going to be first amendment. Okay. Which of the following statements is respect with Constitution Day? Ask 30 seconds. Last 10 seconds. Time is up. So how many of you go with C? Anybody else with a different answer? So one, you can say among the types of question what they've asked. So previously what you solved was elimination based questions. Means you can eliminate. Okay, like 1, 2, 3 statements will be. Now this is one more type of questions what was asked in old pattern, but they've reintroduced it in more so in 2023. So this we call it as what? Assertion and reasoning. So they would have given 2 statements. So first job is to look at which statement are correct. That you will have to look at. Second job is to look at what is the relation between, if both statements are correct, then you have to see whether the statement 1 is because of statement 2, means there is a correlation between 2 statements. So if you look here, statement 1, Constitutional Day is celebrated on 26th November every year to promote constitutional values among citizens. That you know. So 26th November is Constitutional Day, 26th Jan is what? Republic Day. But if you look at the second statement, on 26th November 1949, the Constituent Assembly set up the drafting committee. See, even if you don't know, logically you should have done, by the on 26th Jan 1949, they actually passed the constitution itself. Of course, drafting committee would have been set up at a very much later, means earlier date, not on this particular. So here statement 2 is incorrect. So here you don't have the problem also of looking whether that statement are logically correct or not. Why? Because easily you get the answer is what? Statement 1 is correct, statement 2 is incorrect. And if you see in 2023 paper, in most of these assertion and reasoning, 80% of the question, one statement was correct, one statement was wrong. There were some 7 to 8 this assertion and reasoning question. If you go solve them, in that almost 70% of them, it was given in such a way that in that one statement is only correct, the other statement. But I am not telling that you have to use it as a blind thing, is that next time when they give, Yengidru sir helidralla class one statement correct, one statement directly over C hakadu. That you can't use, but I am telling a trend. Not only now, even if you go to the old question papers where these were there, most of the questions, it is oriented such that one statement is correct, one statement is wrong. Only few questions where both statement is correct. But I am telling not as a blanket statement, please go by question to question. So here the answer is what? C. Statement 1 is correct, statement 2 is incorrect. So when did the Indian Constitution came into effect? 26 Jan 1950. One more thing you please remember, they might also ask in prelims is that because this is 75th year of India's constitution coming into being. So the questions might come on Constituent Assembly and the committees which were there, etc. So all the parts of the constitution did not come into effect only on 26 Jan. There were some parts of the constitution such as citizenship, elections that were in force even much before 26 Jan 1950. They came into force on 26 November itself. Okay. Even if they give statements, they'll give statements like that. All the provisions of the constitution came into effect on 26 Jan 1950 itself. And from 15th August to 26 Jan 1950, India was a dominion of Britain. We were not a sovereign state. Why we were not a sovereign state? Till this date, till 26 Jan 1950, India continued to function under the Government of India Act 1935. So when this was enacted, formally it ended the Government of India Act 1935, which was law enacted by the British Parliament, not by the Indian Parliament. Now the Indian political system started functioning. Okay. So these are certain basic information you will have to know. There are some current affairs to it that I will do after we complete polity. Means one class, the complete current affairs of polity, we'll be able to cover. Now, again a easy question which you have to be able to get it easily correct. This is again, you can see it's a 2023 UPSC previous year. So I think you should not take more than 20 seconds or 25 seconds, but I'll still give you 60 seconds. Because sometimes in hurry, you can also make mistake. Okay, we'll stop the time here. So what will be the answer? Charters Act 1833. Anybody mark it wrong? ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಬರೀತಾರಿಲ್ಲ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೂತಿರ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡೋದು. So if you look at the governor of Bengal, okay, so obviously governor of Bengal was made governor general of Bengal when? Regulating Act 1773. Who was the first governor of Bengal? Question, governor of Bengal was Robert Clive. The first governor general of Bengal was who? Warren Hastings. And now in 1833 they designated the Governor General of Bengal as the Governor General of India, and who went on to become the first Governor General of India? It is William Bentinck. Similarly, in the Government of India Act 1858 they redesignated Governor General of India as Viceroy, and who was the first Viceroy? Canning. Similarly, in 1773 they had created the Supreme Court of Calcutta. Who was the first Chief Justice of Supreme Court of Calcutta? Elijah Impey. Okay, try to remember these kind of basic facts. So there will be certain factual questions also. And if you see again, this is a 2023 prelims question. So in 2023 where we said paper was difficult, it was difficult. Why? Because one, elimination was not available, and second one, you can say the questions what you had to have more information. But even in 2023 question, you can see this question, the previous question what you solved, these were all asked in 2023 only. That's why I told in that paper also there were 32 questions. I'm telling not only polity, economy, geography, basic questions like this question. Suppose you didn't do any mistakes in these kind of questions, how much is 32 into 2? 64. And what was the cutoff that year? Not 90, it was 75. So it's just matter of getting 11 to 12 marks more. Some people who went wrong, right? Because why we say that you have to have a strategy, but you should be also flexible. Some people what they did, the moment they saw the paper, they were surprised. Why they were surprised? Because UPSC all of a sudden he asked this one statement, two statement question, assertion and reasoning question. So that is a shock. So obviously mentally defeated there itself. Some people what they did, blindly applied their same strategy what they were using in test series. Attend 90 questions, attend 95 questions. Obviously when you can do attend 90 or 95 when question is like 2022 or even last year you could have done it. Why? Because they had asked even elimination questions. But when 2023 paper maximum questions were filled with one statement or two statement, here making intelligent guesses will be very difficult. So you have to just stick on to what? Answering those questions which you very well know. So those who attended 70 questions, 75 questions with minimal number of mistakes, they end up getting very high score. Or even if you don't make any mistakes in those 32-35 questions, still you will end up qualifying for prelims. Why? Because almost you got your 70 marks there itself. Okay, so make sure in an exam, plain and simple, try to, when you solve in the first round, don't waste too much time, 15 minutes time over a question, move quick on to question, give yourself 1.5 minutes time. If you didn't get it, move on, you can come back in second round. As I told now this question, how much seconds you took? Hardly it will take 15 seconds. Again you save time, 45 seconds. That time again you had saved time. So if you keep adding in the first round, you will get some 5 to 10 minutes where you can invest extra on some question you need to do some thinking. Okay, but if you don't do that, if you take for some question you got stuck 10 minutes, you wasted. Now sometimes let us think you are answering this in last minute, they are going to review your paper. Something by subconscious you marked off, let us take some regulating act. You lost your easy 2 marks, not just 2 marks, plus negatives which you would have got. So with reference to India, in the above this sentence, which of the following statements is or are correct? We had 60 seconds again here. Last 10 seconds. Time is up. So yeah. So okay, how many of you have marked 1 only as the answer? Okay, how many of you marks 2 only as the answer? How many of you say both 1 and 2 are correct? Okay, neither 1 or 2. So if you see this question is a question you can't answer from Lakshmikant. Okay, even if you have read Lakshmikant, this is not there in Lakshmikant. So some polity questions which will be there, which will be not in Lakshmikant, this is something you gain by reading current affairs or day-to-day newspaper reading or etc. or general knowledge, what we can say. So you look at the first statement, government law officers and legal firms are recognized as advocates, but corporate lawyers, patent attorneys are excluded from recognition of advocate. That is first statement. Is it right or is it wrong? Actually that is wrong. For advocate, first you have to clear the bar council exam. Second one, there was a judgment which had come 1 year or 2 years before saying that only those who are full-time employees of any company, they can't be considered as advocates, but part-time employees, they can be considered as advocates. That issue also came up with MPs and MLAs. So those who have been MPs and MLAs, can they practice as an advocate? The Supreme Court gave a verdict saying that interpreting the Bar Councils Act, nobody can prohibit you because MP and MLA is not considered as a full-time employment. So obviously the first definition what they have given, excluding corporate lawyers, patent attorneys are excluded from recognition of advocates, that is incorrect. Okay. Second one, if you go by the Bar Councils Act 1961 in that regard, you can say they have the powers to lay down rules for legal education and also recognize laws colleges. So here the answer will be what? 2 only. So how do we prepare for these kind of questions? For this you don't need to read any book as per se, just keep reading your current affairs thing, keep observing. Okay. For example, let us take now Darshan's case itself in Karnataka. So there you have to know about what are the different types of bails, what is judicial custody, what is police custody. You are getting a point. These are newer areas where you can focus on. Or Arvind Kejriwal's case, or you can say K. Kavita's case, there was this issue about Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So though in Lakshmikant they don't cover PMLA in detail, you have to read about PMLA because judgments came. So in PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, etc., or even you have this POXO which is there. Now what is unique in these laws is that these are actually extraordinary laws compared to other normal laws of the land. Why? Because in normal laws of the land, bail is a norm, not an exception. But in these cases, bail is not a norm, it is an exception, means it is given but not for everybody, but in exceptional cases in that regard. So both Arvind Kejriwal and you can say K. Kavita, they got bail. Why? Because again Supreme Court told, it doesn't mean in PMLA you cannot get bail at all. At all we have to look into the condition. If there is an exceptional case in that regard, we can give bail to that person. So these kind of issues won't be in Lakshmikant. You have to read as part of your what? Current affairs, or let us think any issues related in that direction. So this was back why they asked this question. This MP MLA case had gone to court. That time court gave a judgment, and that is why they asked in prelims. Got it? So answer will be what? 2 only. Okay, this question. Anyway, this is out of syllabus, but still you can see. If you actually look at, you don't need, if you are smart enough, I don't think so you will need to read everything. Your mind. So prelims is also not always about testing your knowledge. Be smart also. Once you solve the first statement, is it right or is it wrong? Wrong. Then why are you solving the question? You got the answer, it is B. See, why I am telling, first statement is a basic knowledge. What I mean by who will do wrong here is that, or who has to read second and third statement? One who does not know the first statement. Who can not know first statement? One who has not revised correctly or one who has not read properly. Who will never go wrong in the first question? One who has read his basics very well. Constitutional amendment, article 368. You don't need president's prior recommendation to introduce a constitutional amendment that we have read in basic Lakshmikant. First statement what they have given, it requires prior recommendation. You know that statement is incorrect. Immediately what you have to do, this is an elimination based question. So let me eliminate those statement which has 1. You got the answer as B, 2 and 3. Why I am telling is that if it is elimination, they can give other way also. One statement is correct, 2 statement. That time you have to read all the 3 statements. But I am telling if the question comes like this. Now if you start reading now second and third statement, you get over confused. Unnecessary thinking you did. That's what I told. Here 100% you are sure with your basic knowledge. No chance first statement can be correct. Then there is no need to look and read the statement 2 or 3 in detail. You will find the answer as what? B, that is 2 and 3. So if you want to brush up regarding constitutional amendment, as you know it is under article 368. Again if you take constitutional amendment, is it defined or does it come under the definition of the law mentioned under article 13 of the Indian Constitution? How many of you say yes, how many of you say no? Constitutional amendment, does it come under the definition of the law mentioned under article 13 of the Constitution? Does not come. If you go back to Keshananda Bharati case also, they told the same thing, it does not come. However, if it is violating any fundamental right and that fundamental right has been considered to be part of the basic structure, then the courts can declare it ultra vires. But it is not considered as the part of the law under article 13. Second one, who can introduce a constitutional amendment bill? Plain simple, private member as well as a minister. And constitutional amendment does not require prior recommendation of the president to be introduced. Then constitutional amendment bill has to be passed by both the houses of the parliament separately by 2/3 majority, but in certain cases which is dealing with federal features like GST etc., it also requires ratification by half of the states in their assemblies through simple majority. And the president cannot reject or cannot exercise veto over a constitutional amendment bill. This was not originally in the constitution, it was added through an amendment which was provided to the president. He has to mandatorily sign. And there is no provision for joint sitting in a constitutional amendment bill. And a constitutional amendment bill can be introduced either in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha. These are the basic details that you have to know regarding a constitutional amendment. Got it? So this is again, you can take a previous year question asked in 2022. So if you see the previous year question, all are easy questions only they are asking. All you have to do is that not get confused and don't get scared regarding they'll ask some current affairs. First focus on basics. Current affairs, spend time, once you complete that basics, 2 or 3 days, you are thorough with the subject. Do multiple rounds of revision. Same way, 2023 question. Last 10 seconds. Yes, your time is up. How many of you say answer is C? Okay. But to disappoint you, official UPSC key answer is different. Explanation even I don't know why they have given. Because most of the people or most of the people say that the second statement has to be correct. Sorry, has to be incorrect. But what UPSC's official key answer has told, all the 3 statements are correct. But UPSC won't give explanation for their answers. That is what some are doing, but again, there is no clarity exact, because again if you take even if it is a government company, it will come under the definition of a state under article 12 of the constitution. So mandamus can be issued against public authorities or state. That is the logic what we use. But for UPSC they have not given explanation, but what answer they have given is that it's 1, 2 and 3, that all 3 statements are correct. So looking into mandamus or writs, so mandamus means what? We command. Can mandamus be issued against purely private bodies? Can mandamus be issued against Chief Justice of India? Of course it can't, because he is the highest authority, he can't issue against himself. Can mandamus be issued against President and Governor? It can't be issued. Can mandamus be issued against Supreme Court judges? It can be. Not against CJI, but CJI can declare to some other judge or even High Court judges, it can be issued. CJI cannot be issued, but you can issue to other judges. Can mandamus be issued to public private authorities? It can be issued. Can mandamus be issued where the power or the law, it is discretionary? It cannot be issued. It is only where it is obligatory. What do you mean by that? So for example, the law says that the government may or may not give you information on something else, and now you go and apply for RTI, but that comes under what? Discretion of the government. Now here you cannot go to court and saying that my fundamental right to information is being violated, please direct the public authority. They won't issue direction, because they will tell it is what? It is not obligatory, it is discretionary. So for example, Uniform Civil Code, now you cannot go to court and say that issue mandamus because Uniform Civil Code has been not registered, had been not brought. They will tell it is first of all obligatory for the state to bring Uniform Civil Code when it is required. It is only in the cases when. Similarly, you have habeas corpus, okay, means what? To find the body. So habeas corpus can be issued both against public as well as private authorities. habeas corpus can be issued especially when your detention is illegal. But however, habeas corpus cannot be issued when your detention is legal. Means, for example, now when police have arrested a person, they have taken the permission from the court for what? Police custody or judicial custody. Now you cannot go and apply for habeas corpus. Why? Because the detention is completely legal. Habeas corpus can also not be issued in the case of preventive detention, and habeas corpus cannot be issued against contempt of court. Means when you have violated the contempt of court, that is why you are detained for. Same way you have prohibition and you have certiorari. So usually issued by a higher court to a lower court, but in case of certiorari, it can be also issued by a higher court to a lower administrative body and tribunals also. Now prohibition, it is preventive in nature. Okay, it prevents the lower court from crossing its jurisdiction, whereas certiorari, it is both preventive as well as curative in nature. And you in prohibition, you cannot issue against legislative authorities, it is only against tribunals and courts. And finally you have quo warranto. Quo warranto is issued when some person illegally occupies a position like a constitutional position or a statutory position, and here the principle of locus standi does not apply. Means any person can file for quo warranto. So these are the writs that is mentioned under article 32 as well as 226. Okay, and what is the difference between writ of Supreme Court and High Court? The Supreme Court can issue writ for only violation of fundamental rights, High Court for both fundamental rights as well as your legal rights or etc. The writ jurisdiction of Supreme Court is throughout the territory of India, not outside, only throughout the territory of India. Logical also, now Supreme Court can't issue a writ to American government in that regard, and for a High Court it is only that particular state in that regard. And similarly we take for Supreme Court, it is mandatory for them to issue writ for violation of fundamental right. For High Court it is not mandatory. That is why we call Supreme Court as the guardian or protector of your fundamental rights, not the High Court. Why? Because High Court may or may not issue a writ for fundamental, but Supreme Court does. So when you read these, when you solve these kind of questions, you also have to revise the other parts of the thing when you go through the questions also. Right to privacy is protected under which article of the Indian Constitution? So again you don't need to see, again this is a question where you have to not take half an hour or like 40 seconds or 50 seconds, immediately you have to know the answer, because repeated question, it has been, I think KPSC also they asked this question, before UPSC also 2 times they have asked this question. So what is the answer? Article 21, which case? It is put to Swami case, plain and simple. Again when it comes to case laws, don't by heart all the case laws, know the major ones in recent times which are landmark in a way. Now again this is a question you say not from Lakshmikant, but in general you have to use your application based. Last 20 seconds. Last 5 seconds. Your time is up. So what will be the answer to this question? So first statement, judicial custody means an accused in the custody of the concerned magistrate, and such accused is locked up in a police station and not in a jail. So that's what I told, even if you have read newspaper, let us say you have not read Lakshmikant or missed class also, but you followed Darshan's case, etc., you can say first he was in police custody, then he went into judicial custody. So when he is in judicial custody, he will not be in a police station, he will be in central jail. So why he went to judicial custody? Bail was not yet given for him, but he is gone in as what? Not as an proved guilty, but as an under trial. So once he got bail, now he came back. What do you mean by police custody? First time when they took darshan, they produced him like 24 hours. They have to produce you before a magistrate, and now they'll have to take permission from the magistrate for you to for them to detain in a police station if they want to make further inquiry. So with darshan case, they got certain time for them to take him back to police station to continue their interrogation. That is called as police custody. So first sentence they mixed up judicial custody and police custody. That statement is incorrect, because you will be in jail, not in police station. Second statement is 100% correct, because when you are in judicial custody, police cannot walk away every time to central jail to make investigation. You will have to take the permission from the courts to enter the jail and to interrogate that particular person. So answer is what? 2 only. Okay, so if you see why they'll ask these type of question, Shah Rukh Khan's son's case was also in news that time. Like lot of these cases, police custody, judicial custody was constantly coming in newspaper, and that is why they had asked this question in 2022 in prelims. And an easy question if you logically apply. With reference to India, consider the following statement. See, one of the theme you can observe is jail, arrest. These are the new themes they are asking in polity. Last 15 seconds. Last 5 seconds. Yeah, time is up. So if you see which issues have been in news, you have this Bilkis Bano case which was in news, you would have read about it, okay. Or constantly you can say now in many other case also, I think in Delhi case also there was this murder case where they had given parole. So generally you have to look up what is a parole and what is a furlough. So when a prisoner makes out of a sufficient case, parole cannot be denied to such prisoner because it's a matter of his or her right. So if you read what is the difference between parole and furlough, furlough is a right, parole is not a matter of right, they can deny you, okay, it's left to the government or the jail authorities to decide whether to give you parole or not. So they might deny you parole if saying that you might be a threat to others. So first statement is incorrect. State governments have their own prisoners release on parole rules. 100% correct if you have read even the basic thing that jail is a state subject, okay. That is why it's called Bilkis Bano case. If you had closely followed, there you can say Gujarat's remission policy was in question, and on what basis the Gujarat government had given parole to these people. So there they had discussed, means it had come, means it generally it come, every state has its own remission policy, every state will have its own prison rules in that regard. So that is not uniform throughout India. So the answer is what? Second statement is correct. So answer is 2 only. Got it? Many times even though you have not read, try to think. This is where these questions you can use that extra 20 seconds or 30 seconds what you have gained from questions like that, right to privacy, etc. Okay, that's what I told. Rather than just reading, solving more number of questions will help you a lot in prelims, okay. And most people will clear prelims mainly what their basics will be correct. Second one, they will solve lot of previous year questions. The only difference between others and them is that they will consistently do it, others won't do it. Others will do it for a matter of like 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. 8 days what they will do, they will panic and they will go back to reading again because they will think syllabus is huge, we have to read, and unnecessary they will read Shunya, vision. That's what I told, unless you don't have vision, you will get Shunya only in the exam and you are not going to be the next IAS. Then you have to work in forum or some other place. So that's what I told, it's not about which material you read, any one material it will be the same, it's only FOMO, fear of missing out. and the market also will do like that. Market is what, like brand building, or what you can say, create some kind of students. Like even I will tell you, if you don't take my course, you are done. You can clear, many people are clearing the exam without taking anybody's course. I am telling, stick to any one material, any one source, make use of the best thing what is available in Insights itself. Rather than, see, always the outside noises will be there. Some person will tell, I would have gone to Vision, only extra kodutare, but only SST prelims pass mado. Sonne. ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅವನು ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ಇದ್ರೆ ತಾನೇ ಪಾಸ್ ಆಗೋದು. Too many cooks will spoil the food, and there is no magic thing happens here. Okay, magic thing is that, okay, there is one person who is cleared 6 prelims. Okay, he has cleared, you have not cleared. You can take guidance. It doesn't mean he is going to write your paper. End of the day, you have to sit and study. Or these magic materials, within 24 hours become expert in polity. 24 ತಿಂಗಳೇ ಓದಿಲ್ಲ, ಇನ್ನು 24 ಗಂಟೆಲಂತೂ ಏನು ಮ್ಯಾಜಿಕ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. So don't worry about these current affairs too much and all. First focus on your basics. Read just any one material, any material of your choice. I am not telling you read this material, any material of your choice. Revise it multiple times. Read the questions carefully. Be in the examination confident. This is what is important in next 2-3 months. You have to build your confidence level. And what will happen when you solve UPSC previous year paper? If you saw the number of questions what you solved, it was easy only. It's not as difficult as we can say, but only that as exam comes close, you will start overthinking and over analyzing, and you will make blunders. A legislation which confers, sorry. Last 15 seconds. Last 5 seconds. Yes. So what will be the answer? The article 14. Like for those, let us think, in actual exam also when you wrote, if you have made a mistake here, why one of the mistake is that you will get confused because it's not direct. It's more, you have to deduce. One way what you can do to deduce is that go by each individual article and what that article is related to. So article 28 is related to what? Freedom of religion, etc. Article 32 is related to what? Constitutional remedies. 44 is related to what? Uniform civil code. Article 14 is related to what? Right to equality. So now if you read the question, a legislation which confers on executive or administrative authority and unguided and uncontrolled discretionary powers in the matter of application of the law, means when you are going to apply the law, you are applying the way you want. It is going to violate which fundamental right? So basically right to equality, because if you are applying the law according to whatever you want, if you say I will apply the law for these people, I am not going to apply for the law these people, so it basically violates which article? 14. See, 28, 32, 44, they are all more specific. Okay, 44 Uniform Civil Code. Now you can come and argument saying that, sir, Uniform Civil Code is also, no, bring Uniform Civil Code, you will be bringing one set of law which will apply. But they are saying that what? If you give this power to the legislative or the executive, and if they apply that part, that violates which principle? Principle of equality. And in that, indirectly, which article in the constitution speaks about idea of equality? Article 14. So that will be the best possible option what you can for. Hence the answer will be what? Article 14. So there will be many questions in the exam like this which is not direct, which you need to deduct. So one way what you do is that in these kind of question, try to eliminate first which can't be the answer. So then you will arrive at 2 options. So from 25% where your answer can be correct, you can increase your chances to what? 50%. Okay. So here article will be what? 14, that is right to equality. But they have not asked directly, you have to deduct from the statement what they have given above. Now again you can say there are many questions which are asked from NCERT based. Okay, so now you saw some from Lakshmikant, from current affairs. There are some questions they are asking directly from NCERT also. Which of the following best defines state? Last 15 seconds. Okay, your time is up. So what will be the answer to this question? So the answer is A. So for those like who got confused, like who didn't get the answer correct, one is that they have given lengthy sentences, maybe with advanced English etc. to just confuse you. So what you will have to do is that go back to your basics. So state has 4 elements. What are the 4 elements of the state? Government, territory, population, sovereignty. So among the 4 elements, in which sentence all the 4 elements are reflected? A community of persons, that forms what? Population. Permanently occupying a territory, independent of external control, sovereignty, possessing an organized government. But in all other statements, you don't have the concept of sovereignty. So here only one thing is that you have to be able to interpret this sentence correctly and stick to your basics, you will get correct. This is a concept that is given in your NCERT book, and this was a question which was asked in previous year UPSC Prelims 2021. So these questions again you have to not make a mistake. Next question. I think these are all concept based questions. These are not directly from Lakshmikant, based on your NCERT concept reading. Last 10 seconds. Yes, your time is up. So what will be the answer? How many of you go with A? Okay. How many of you go with B? C? Okay. D? How can it be a committed judiciary? What do you mean by a committed judiciary? A judiciary that is committed to the government. So if you look at which best safeguards the liberty in a liberal democracy. So in a liberal democracy you need to have freedom of speech and expression. Who is a guarantee to safeguard it? So committed judiciary means when judiciary itself is hand in glove with the government, how they will be able to protect it? That can't be the answer. For any kind of that, there should be separation of power. Legislative should be executive should be accountable to legislative, legislative should be accountable to judiciary. No organ of the government should be supreme. So key concept here is separation of power. So answer is D. You can have an elected government, even in China there is election. Just having an elected government, that's all, it's not enough to protect. The elected government itself can become authoritarian by character. So when it becomes authoritarian, you need to have check and balance. So answer is, that's why they've given best. The answer is D. So that's why I told many times when you even misinterpret the sentence of formation, you can make a mistake. And again, if you take this is a level 1 question, you should never make a mistake in these kind of questions. That's why I told easy questions will come, but you have to get it correct on that particular day. Next question. So these are all taken from CDS NDA papers. Last 20 seconds. Last 5 seconds. Your time is up. So what will be the answer to this question? How many of you say D? How many of you say A? Okay. How many of you say B? No, you said A. Why is it? But which cannot be a feature of totalitarian government. A classic example of where you know the question but still you make a mistake. Why? Because you didn't read the question carefully. Why we keep saying when you solve tests, do it in time. See, many people, why they fail in the exam is not just because they are not doing correct things. They would have read well, but they won't take their test seriously. They don't sit in a classroom atmosphere. They won't keep 2 hours time. And when you are in house, what can happen? Okay, I'll cheat myself. Okay, I'll take 10 minutes extra. It's fine. There is a huge difference because when pressure is applied and when you do the question, these mistakes will happen. Answer is simple. It is D. Autonomous civil society, because in a totalitarian government everything will be under the control of the government, your personal life, etc. So obviously monopoly of means of mass of communication, government will control that. One party state, of course, but in a totalitarian, which is not a feature, this is a feature of liberal democracies where civil society is free. They can challenge the government, etc. So for example, what do we mean by civil society? For example, in India you had this association of democratic reforms that went to court for the electoral bond scheme and got the electoral bond scheme cancelled, but that can't happen in a totalitarian government. So answer is what? D. Easy question, but still some of you missed the word cannot. Why I am telling is that tomorrow you might fail the prelims by just 2.5 marks and this would have costed you that. The margin of error should be thin. So if you are making a mistake in a very difficult question, fine, it's fine, you took a risk. But if making a mistake in this kind of question because of a judgment in error in reading the question, that is where, that's why I told that level 1 questions 30 to 35 never go wrong in these areas. So answer is what? D. Next question. Last 15 seconds. Last 5 seconds. The time is up. So what will be the answer? How many of you go with C? How many of you go with A? ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಕಾನ್ಫಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರಿ, ಇದು ಏನು ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಂ ಓಕೆ, ವೈ ಎ. So basically you tell why statement 2 you are telling is incorrect. Why do you feel it is incorrect? Okay, let us take an example. You have right to education, that is article 21A. The state failed to provide you education, inactive. Still you can go to court. So answer is C, both 1 and 2. Again mind, they will do nothing, they will just mix things with new languages, new way of asking, but they go back to the basic thing only. All you have to get is that your interpretation has to be correct in the examination. That you will have to do it here. So when you look at here, now let us say you got it wrong, it's fine. But think about why I went wrong, because you never thought or interpreted. There can be also situation where government becomes inactive, because there is not only negative liberty in fundamental rights, there are some positive liberties also in fundamental right, and the state failing to perform its positive liberty also can lead you to take the government to court. So answer is what? C, both 1 and 2. Simple. Okay. Yeah, what will be the answer to this question? You have last 15 seconds. Last 5 seconds. Yes, your time is up. So what will be the answer to this question? Okay, so for example, first statement, there is only one citizenship and one domicile, 100% that statement is correct. Second statement, as you know, 100% incorrect, because in India, you can also say only not only a citizen by birth, but also a naturalized citizen is eligible to become the head of the state, unlike America. Okay, and you can say the citizenship topic is also in news now. Why? Because Trump recently signed an amendment, means it has been now again put to court, saying that he is going to change the American system, how the citizenship will be given, because they were giving based on the system of jus soli, but now he is want to shift towards jus sanguinis, means based on blood relation. That is also in news. But in India, even a naturalized citizen is eligible to become the president or the head of the state. Third statement is also incorrect. You can easily, even if you have not read, you can generally guess. You can say the deprivation which is there under Citizenship Act 1955, you can be deprived of your citizenship if you have violated the constitution, disloyalty towards the constitution, communicated with the enemy during the war, or you have been convicted in any case for more than 2 years within the first 5 years of you getting the citizenship. All are the grounds for thing. So answer is what? 1, 1B. Basic, easy, simple question. Yeah, next question. So for this question, you should not take 60 seconds, or you can do it in 30 seconds. And what will be the answer? Okay, so answer will be B. So why? Because one, as you have already read, right to property initially was a fundamental right, but the 44th Amendment 1978 removed right to property, made it a constitutional right under Article 300A. Means constitutional means it is also a legal right. And now you can say it's a legal right. One, you know, But now the doubt will be that it is legal right available to citizens only or legal right available to any person. So logically you can think, na, any foreigner who comes here who owns properties also, it is also legal right for him also. You cannot take away the property of a foreigner, without issuing any legal notice to them. There should be a procedure to which it has to be undertaken. Or you can also say recently, because in UP the bulldozer issue which was there, that time also Supreme Court gave a judgment saying that the properties cannot be taken away by the state without following a proper procedure. First they told notice has to be given, this much time period has to be given for them to vacate the area. So it is not only for citizens, it is for any person. So answer is what? B. C you can easily remove. Why? Because you know it is no longer a fundamental right. So again it's a very easy question. This was asked in previous year UPSC question paper only, it has been asked. What was the exact constitutional status of India on 26 Jan 1950? So again this is a question which should not take lot of time. Sovereign, democratic, republic. Why the word secular, socialist, integrity, it was added when? 42nd Amendment 1976. In context of Indian history, the principle of diarchy refers to what? So again this is a question, you can't take so much time. Why? Because you would have already solved so much question. So they have given division of central legislature into two houses. What we call that? Bicameral. Introduction of double government, central government and state government. That we call as federal feature. Having two sets of rulers, one in London and one in Delhi, it's not the case. Division of subjects delegated to provinces into two categories. Transferred, reserved. Answer is what? D. Which of the following statements about Charters Act 1813 is correct? Last 15 seconds. Yeah, your time is up. So what will be the answer? The answer, okay, for example, if you take first statement, it ended the trade monopoly of the East Indian Company India except for trade in tea and trade with China. Right or wrong? 100% correct. So if you look at the third statement, the revenues of India were now controlled by the British Parliament. True or incorrect? It is incorrect. Why? Because it was long controlled even before that. That is, if you take Pitt's India Act 1784 only, they controlled the revenue. So 3 can't be the answer. So logically you are left with what? It is 1 and 2. Now some of you can say that no sir, in 1784, but again you can see in 1813 also they reasserted once more again that territory is held by the what you can say East Indian Company is nothing but territory that belongs to the crown. So third statement is incorrect because it was done in 1784 itself. So answer will be what? 1 and 2 only, that is A. Okay, that's why I told here solve more number of questions instead of just reading it, because still if you just read it you will get many questions wrong in these areas because you will keep getting confused. Why second option? Because they said that in 1813 that whatever the territories which is held by the company here in India, this all belongs to the British crown. So they had told it in Pitt's India Act also. Now also they reasserted again because they told 20 years we are extending the contract, right? So in 20 years again they mentioned that whatever territories you acquire, that is not your territories. These territories belong to whom? The crown. You are only taking care of these territories on behalf of us. Okay. So even by the given statements, if you go, you have to be sure third statement is wrong. Why third statement is wrong? They regulated the revenues of the company much before that only. They took control of it. It was not under 1813, but it was under 1784. Now this question, Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. How many of you go first statement is right or it's wrong? Why it is wrong? Because they did give to women, but not all women, because you can say during British rule in India, India was a qualified democracy. It was not a non-qualified democracy or unqualified democracy. It means only educated and those who had property, they had the right to vote. Second statement, is it right or is it wrong? It is no, it is correct. They did give reservation for seats for women to contest the elections. So answer is what? B, 2 only. So as I told, many times again what will happen is that you might read just Lakshmikant, in Lakshmikant all the information might not be given. But when you solve a question paper, you get that additional information that is not there in your book. That is one way you can value add your knowledge, solve more number of questions. Next question. Last 30 seconds. All you need to do is that use bit of logic. Even if you don't know everything, you need to think from a common sense point of view. So you'll be able to get the answer. Yeah, your time is up. So what will be the answer? Is first statement correct? 100% correct. Is second statement correct? It can't be correct also. Why will they allow the federal legislature to take control of defense and foreign? It is slightly kept under the control of whom? The viceroy in that regard. They didn't give it to federal legislature. So obviously you can say, even though Government of India Act 1935 when inspired, Indian constitution is not a carbon copy. Okay, at that point of time, even though they decentralized, they did not give complete control to the federal legislature. Defense and foreign affairs were tightly kept under the control of what? The British or the viceroy. They didn't allow for the elected body to make laws over it. So answer will be what? Answer will be 1 only. This is the last question for you. So these are mixed of like what you read your NCRT polity book. In this there is a mixture of concepts, they are mixed and they have asked one question in this thing CRPF paper. You have last 30 seconds. Last 10 seconds. Done. See, now these kind of questions, if you are getting it correct, it means that you are conceptually very good. Previously some questions were direct. These questions, if you are conceptually very good, you won't go wrong in these kind of questions. So let us take first statement. Is it right or is it wrong? 100% correct. Basic common sense. Hard power. I think in IR also you would have read what is hard power, soft power, smart power. So hard power is using threat, etc. Correct. Globalization is necessarily economic and not cultural. 100% it is incorrect. So you don't need to read any book. Globalization can have impact on political areas, economic areas, cultural areas. Simple. So 2 can't be the answer. If 2 can't be the answer, B, C, D get eliminated. You end up, so okay, not correct. Okay, sorry. Okay, then if, okay, so which is not correct here? Second one is not correct. Okay. And third one, the term Washington consensus refers to the policy that seeks to intervention in the market. So again here you are, see again you have read polity, but you have to also have basics of your economics. What is this Washington consensus? Back in 1970s, the World Bank, IMF, American Treasury, they came together with a common understanding of the global economic policies. It will be based on neoliberal policies. Neoliberal is nothing but free market economy. What is free market economy? Private sector should play a key role, state should not intervene, but here they have given ulta, that state should intervene. So it's incorrect. It is not Washington consensus, that was post-Washington consensus. Autarky generally means economic self-sufficiency, a state which does not trade with other state because it has developed economic self-sufficiency. So again these are not there in your, maybe in your class notes etc. This is all there in your NCERT books if you read. So here, yeah, it is not correct. So 2 and 3 are incorrect, 1 and 4 are correct. Got it? So in these kind of questions, that's what I told, if you have read NCERT or even if you have not read NCERT for now, solve lot of questions in these areas, and when you read about it, read about what is autarky, what is Washington consensus. There is a new term called as Beijing consensus. This is not something officially declared. Informally, some economists they have brought. What is Beijing consensus? China's economic model. So China does not follow the Western economic model. So in the West, you have complete liberalization. Here you have, liberalization is there, but it is more controlled by the state. Second one, you have in Western model, state should not play any key role. But in China's model, you need to have a muscular state which plays a central role. It is a state controlled capitalism. So that is what we call as Beijing consensus, where China has shown to the world that you can also economically grow, not following the Western model of economic growth model, but there is criticism to that also. That is a mains part of your syllabus, not required here. Got it? So these were the questions on previous year papers on the areas what we had discussed. There are some more questions that I will try to post on the your mentorship group. Try to solve those questions. But your next target for your next questions what we are going to solve is, these will be the topics we are going to cover. You need to prepare and come. You will get 3 days time to prepare on this topic. It will be directive, principle of state policy, fundamental duties, president, vice president, constitutional amendment, prime minister, council of ministers, then you have governor, and you have judiciary. Again I am telling, this is only purely from prelims point of view, so it won't take so much time for you to sit and read. So even when you read, don't try to read the mains portion of that, because in your class notes it is integrated what is given, but just stick to reading the prelims part of it. So again we will be solving PYQs on these areas, again from CDS, NDA, CRPF, UPSC. And those who got, maybe some people would have got questions wrong. So again I said don't think too much about it. The main agenda is to improve. Okay, for improve you have to solve questions. And solving questions, always what some people will think, it's waste of time. Why? Because I will sit and read. So again I have showed you, even if you have read 100 times, unless you have not solved your question, you would have not developed the examination skills. To clear prelims, it is not only knowledge that is required, 100% knowledge is needed. Along with knowledge, skills are required. So skills can only improve with what? Through practice. So once we complete whole of polity, means we will be trying to do it within 10 days, the whole of polity for prelims. The 11th day, I am going to do on current affairs regarding polity in one class. That is, I will need 2 hours to complete 1 year current affairs, means important topic. The next day, after that you will get a time to revise. You are going to write a sectional test of 100 questions, that is normal paper. Question paper I will give, okay, it can be insights or some other thing. All you need to do is write. So there is no evaluation at all. You can, we'll give you the key answers, self-evaluate and score how much you have scored. Then we'll move on to the next subject. Okay. So target is to at least complete revisions of core subjects in coming 1.5 months. Okay. So it is possible, but if you spend more time on reading. Okay. As I told, classes you attend at least 1 class a day. Don't try to make yourself attending 3 classes in a day at this time, if you are going to write the upcoming prelims. Okay. If you are spending 9 hours in a class only and spending only 2 hours reading, then it will be always a difficult task. So spend more time on reading, and that's why I told, reading, not blindly reading. You also keep looking at previous year question when you read those topics. So please remember, these will be the topics. The next session what we are going to do, it will be 3 days from now on. So today is Monday, right? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday will be our session. Got it? So any other doubt? Yeah. So I will share the PPT also. I'll ask Shreya ma'am to share it on Telegram, Insights Telegram channel only. There may be some remaining 12 questions are there that you can solve. Got it? Yeah.